This video will contain Xenoblade Chronicles 2 soundtrack size spoilers for Xenoblade Chronicles 2. As a result, to avoid spoilers, I'd suggest clicking off the video and then coming back later once you've beaten the game. If you have beaten it or don't care about spoilers, then welcome. Let's begin. So I think this goes without saying, but Xenoblade Chronicles 2's soundtrack is absolutely divine. The manner in which songs like Drifting Souls beautifully display the struggle of our characters through the appropriate lyrics and building instruments, or the decision perfectly mimicking the wavering intensity of the scene, is phenomenal. But one of my favorite aspects of the soundtrack is how it utilizes its songs with various renditions or brief fragments within other songs to thematically tie together the characters and relationships. This concept of a recurring theme is known as a leitmotif and embodies plenty of tracks like Amalthus' theme found in Praetor Amalthus being reworked into Desolation and Over Despair and Animus, Malos' Torn in Battle theme. However, this video will be concerned with Xenoblade Chronicles 2's main theme, Where We Used to Be. This song defines the sequel's identity and has received by far the most variations and implementations, with occurrences ranging from the title screen to the end credits, literally. Due to the high frequency of this motif, I'm planning on covering a select few to best show the progression of the narrative, character relationships, and the establishment of tone with respective cutscenes. In order to see its reach, we need to cover the base song itself. Greeting players at the title screen, Where We Used to Be likely serves as many a player's first introduction to the world of Allrest, with a piano gradually ebbing and flowing. There's nothing fancy about this arrangement, but that's the point, as it's more about easing you into the world and letting you take in everything around you, as well as what's happened as indicated by a spackling of notes leading into the rising energy of the piano. Normally, characters or environments have specific songs attached to them, with examples like Eye of Shining Justice or Bringer of Chaos for Zeke, or Shadows of the Lowlands for Tantal. I think it's hard to attach this motif to a single character, but rather to the relationship between Rex and Pyra and Mithra, which is supported by the presence of the numerous renditions in addition to Where We Used to Be's largest other appearance, transpiring in the Oratory Knoll Cemetery cutscene. Rex's discussion with his parents about his experiences with Pyra acts as a quiet reflection that captures the somber, pleasant moment, as well as that second point I mentioned about taking in all that has happened thus far. This scene takes place within Chapter 5, halfway through the main story, acting as a figurative rest area that says, wow, we've really come pretty far, haven't we? There's this beautiful alignment where the establishing piano keys partner with Rex's initial mention of his parents, the music filters out right where he says he'd like Pyra to meet them, and the following build-up after Pyra's inquiry that leads to a wholesome conversation.
These are my parents' graves.
What?
I wanted you to meet them, though.
To meet them? How do you mean?
And finally, the notes come in stronger, albeit still low-key, right as Rex prays, almost to symbolize the strength of his bonds to people and Pyra's growing connection to her young driver as she joins him.
Rex?
Not only does the song's progression magnificently sync with the characters' interactions, but the title, Where We Used to Be, is the representation of these characters' words and thoughts. Just like how the original Xenoblade Chronicles uses its main theme at the title screen and the halfway point, I feel Xenoblade Chronicles 2 adapts this structure in such a splendid way and constructs a solid basis for a plethora of versions to come. Elysium in the Dream is one of the sadder twists on the motif, with the piano remaining a key component with the new addition of some occasional string plucks before the entry of a sorrowful consistency. I think the title fits well as it opposes the bright blue sky theme in the last remix for a tone holding qualities like a dreamer yearning and reminiscing on illusions of the night. Usually, this track is used alongside examinations of a character's traumatic past, like Jin's connection to the Kingdom of Torna, or Pyra explaining the cost of the Aegis War in the Orion capital. What you'll see is a lot of these instances can be traced back to the events of Torna, the Golden Country, but there are two that are especially relevant to showcasing the bond between Rex and Pyra. The first is the scene where Rex meets Pyra in the Elysium landscape. Practically half of the cutscene is ambient noises of birds chirping and the rustling wind, but the song flows in as soon as Pyra tells Rex her request to visit the true Elysium, which, by the way, is so clever.
Rex, I have a request. Can you take me to Elysium?
Elysium?
Pyra says the world they currently see is merely a memory, an ancient half-forgotten memory of once was. Or, in other words, a dream of what Elysium should be, based off of memories just like any other dream. As the end of the game reveals, the reality of Elysium is not the dream they longed for.
Where's the greenery? The water? Birdsong?
The manner in which Pyra interacts with Rex is very indicative of the song's tone too, as she barely smiles or exudes a lot of emotion in her words, something that Rex actually remarks on later. Pyra's already chosen to seek destruction after years of being lost in her own head following the events of Torna. Another small detail I appreciate is the introduction of the vocals lines up with Rex's initial agreement, and the carry through by resonating with Pyra's core crystal as it gives the pacing a level of consistency.
Then there's only one choice. I'm in. Let's go to Elysium.
The other notable use of Elysium in the dream follows the graveyard scene where Pyra expresses her concerns with traveling with Rex. So, I had mentioned how the base main theme found in Where We Used to Be accompanies the first half of this scene to act as a safe area of sorts and shows how far this driver and Blade have come. Pyra's learned to smile a lot more from her introduction.
Nice smile.
And there's a higher level of affinity between Rex and her due to the way they stand up for one another. And that still holds true, but the entrance of the sad melody dictates that you feel bad. And as this song normally does, it leads into a discussion of someone's troubled past. Rex's to be precise. Due to her newfound connection to Rex, Corrin's tale of Rex's loss prompts Pyra and Mithra to default to their toxic, self-criticizing mentality that I feel destroys some of the progress the Aegis has made. Just like how the vocals jumped in when Rex had made up his mind in the Elysium dreamscape, they also join with Pyra's reaffirmation that the world doesn't need her.
The whole world. They don't need me. That's just how it feels.
The musical choices really impact the weight of this cutscene and parallel Pyra and Mithra's status as of now. Pyra's introduction was only filled with the Elysium in the Dream's sad melody, but now that we're halfway, we're presented with a blend of peace and ease along with regret and sadness as indicated by the ordered use of Where We Used to Be and Elysium in the Dream respectively. Like Pyra and Mithra's outlook, the tone and her mindset have improved from where it used to be, but it's still tormented and in conflict. Did you catch all that, Bridget? Yeah, I'm pretty sure nobody could possibly see you right there. Your camo index is like 95% with that outfit. Expanding upon that notion of past phantoms is a powerful duo that begins at With People and Darkness. I think most people, including myself, heavily associate this one with Jin's recollection of Laura's death and the Torn Titan remains. There's a section of the song where it deviates from the usual motif into an unsettling, sinister sequence that merges flawlessly with Laura downplaying what it means to lose one's memories and Jin's shocked expression.
If I die, you'll just go to sleep. Someone will find you, reawaken you.
But the question is, why is this motif utilized here? Well, I believe it's because of the parallels that exist between Rex and Pyra and Laura and Jin's bonds. Also, notice how the familiar motif filters out as soon as Laura is fatally wounded, which designates the physical death of their bond.
Laura!
Perhaps building off of that is actually a line from A Moment of Eternity, a song from the perspective of Laura that says, "And I know, you will find that someone who will help you move on." That someone turns out to be Rex, as Jin realizes in the base game, somebody that mirrored the bond he shared with Laura and the bar he holds all drivers to. Overall, it's a fantastic tune, but I think its most important role is how it sets up Jin's theme. The Power of Jin, otherwise known as the "Oh God, Not Empty Moment" theme, is a song filled with this hodgepodge of whimsical woodwinds, a choir, and brass to give off this mixture of sadness and anger to capture Jin's disposition. Yet you might miss it with how well it blends in and the fact that it only sticks around for about 20 seconds per cycle, but you can hear the main theme at the song's loudest. If I'm going with my theory about this motif representing Rex and Pyra's bonds, then this inclusion could be the duo trying to reach Jin through the chaos of fury and anguish composing the rest of the song. It very well could be the loudest section to show either how deaf to their will Jin was at first, or how he's beginning to see the reincarnation of his and Laura's bonds in his adversaries. However, the slip back into the aggressive section could be a result of his difficulties accepting the truth, just like Pyra and Mithra. When it comes to their character significance, I typically like to consider With People in Darkness as well as the Power of Jin together. You've probably noticed we've been jumping around a lot, and Yeah, that's gonna be a theme, because next up is the Awakening, which plays first during the how do you say that? Its grandiose feeling is made clear by the strong strings and vocals, and swirling momentum even in the parts that aren't heard within the cutscenes it plays in. I conclude it's a great match for the awakening of not only our protagonist, but the legendary Aegis after 500 years of slumber. It's incredibly hype, and I mean, hey, look, even Rex is trying to get into it and trying to match the choir. But I think the awesome voice acting on Malos to show his disbelief at what he's witnessing alongside the music makes this moment exponentially more awe-inspiring.
You and that sword can't be!
It's kind of low.
I'd say the most important takeaway is how it precedes Rex and Pyra's first battle against Malos, which creates a bookend with its other use following the final battle against Malos. There's this thoughtful, beautiful dynamic that shows how far you've come from that first battle, and I think that the song fits this moment even more. Instead of jumping up separately and on different levels like their introduction, a now clear-minded Numa hovers on equal level with her driver as the music ramps up before coming to a halt right before the final blow.
Future!
And perhaps because we're dealing with the stronger, more complete Aegis, the music extends past its endpoint during the resurrection of Rex and into the disappearance of Klaus and the Conduit, the source of her power. I love how emphatic the music gets once the Conduit is shown, as if in reverence of the divine artifact, and it bleeds over to give Klaus's ending not a whimper, but an assured bang. Although the motif is displayed several other times throughout the game, and even after this point, it feels like a thorough closing chapter before the epilogue. As a quick side note before the final stretch of cutscenes, there are two other pieces that I believe emphasize the other aspect of the motif established in Where We Used to Be, which is the world of Allrest itself. Even at the title screen, different locations make up the background as the story progresses. The world is a huge part of the Xenoblade Chronicles series, and I think Xenoblade 2 takes it to the next level with the leitmotif infiltrating the world tree in Orbital Ring. Yggdrasil, experienced for the journey up the world tree, is a concoction made from the softer sounds of the fantastical setting we've become accustomed with, a pasty injection of technological noises. The tree's theme grabs hold of the trek into the unknown while still staying familiar since, after all, the world tree is what the life of Allrest is centered around. Not to mention, it implants the motif of the main theme into an explorable area, which is something I wish the original title did. Now the question is, could this motif define both Rex and Pyra as well as the world? The answer is yes, and I'd like to pinpoint it to this one line.
Tell me, do you love this world?
Yes. Mia. Isolda. And you, Rex. I love this world because you're in it.
I kind of imagine them as joint entities since Allrest beget this relationship and they portray the best the world has to offer. This variation's fusion of sanctity and technology is awesome and a stark contrast from the other environmental rendition. Kicking off everything even before the showdown with Malos is the atmospheric composition that plays in the Orbital Ring. A slow, empty take on the main theme with sounds of the technology and wind whistling in and out of its melody between the space piano notes mark the hollow feeling that comes with the reality of your journey's conclusion. I have this vivid image of the party slowly walking down the dark corridors without speaking a word to one another as they sort out their own thoughts. Honestly, try to close your eyes and picture the scene for a bit. It's a momentary, haunting track that I believe deserves a bit more attention. Alright, back to the finale and onward to the trinity of feels with Our Hope, Parting, and the Tomorrow with You, following Numa's choice to stay behind and deal with the World Tree. Starting with Our Hope, it's the shortest arrangement, but bends the motif to make it feel heavy in correspondence with Rex realizing the truth and direness of Numa's decision. I think a lot of that feeling is thanks to the lack of instruments and focus on the choir, which helps signal that their connection is coming to a close. My favorite parts of this alignment are the choir dropping an octave right as the camera switches to Numa, hesitant to offer Rex an answer, and the music tailing off as Rex's anchor shot falls into the abyss.
I'm sorry.
Come with you! Damn it!
Part 2 brings us Parting right after, one of my favorite renditions of the main theme, let alone one of my favorite tracks in the entire game. This introduction walks hand in hand with Rex's desperate pleas, which, God, this combination kills me.
Come on! Please! She's right there!
Before you know it, this melody is escalating into this marvel of a transition that feels like a friend reaching down to help you off the ground, just as Zeke does for Rex. Shortly after, silence. And then, the smooth, lonely brass leading the charge for the other instruments is a reminder that you're never alone, as each character files in to support the devastated driver. Maybe it's the Metal Gear in me, but I want to salute so hard, which is exactly like Morag's action. Paying her respects to the Aegis, a formidable opponent turned ally that strengthened her as a warrior and friend. And I appreciate how not everything needs to be said to get their emotions across. Rex and Numa are separated, and unlike how it's cut short when Laura is shot, their motif persists and rises. This progression illustrates the strength of their bond and Rex to accept Numa's decision as if to echo their meeting in the hills of Elysium. I'm sorry if this breakdown was a bit more personal, but I adore this song and how it's implemented. Finally, we have the Tomorrow with You. This song marks Rex's appeal to Pyra and Mithra at the cliffs of Morifa, and it's always functioned as an extremely personalized version of the leitmotif, meant for scenes that are centered around that heartfelt connection between Rex and Numa. This one certainly follows suit, as Numa's shout and offering of her core crystal initiate the song's entry. Numa's declaration that her driver would be fine without him additionally resembles her mindset when this song played before at Morifa, but with a renewed meaning behind those words. Yet the familiar tune jumps in just as Numa goes to save Rex and his world, just like he did for her at Morifa. Both the Tomorrow with You and Parting share that slow start as they gain energy, but the difference lies in the instruments used, the way they progress, and Parting's decision to envelop the whole song in the motif, as opposed to the Tomorrow with You only using it for a portion. In the case of this tune, the drums and brass build towards a literal send-off, with Numa's Answer the Malos, the destruction of the World Tree, and Rex's final shout. I spoke of how I believe Rex and Pyra's relationship and the world of Allrest are both tied to this motif. And although the cutscene doesn't show it during this song, we see after its conclusion that all remains of the old Allrest is the remains of Morifa, perhaps symbolically suggesting that the temporary death of their bond spells the end of the world as they know it. The way I view it is, our hope is the appetizer, Parting is the main course, and the Tomorrow with You is the dessert and car ride home crying that you have a pin in your stomach and can't see straight. True story. With the group finally reaching Elysium in the credits, we're greeted with the theme White All Around Us, which parallels where it all began as another creative bookend. And it's a beautiful piece, but the one that's caught my eye and the ultimate one for this video is the final track in the game, One Last You. A truly touching lyrical arrangement, One Last You is the realization of Rex and Pyra and Mithra's bonds as the lyrics come from the perspective of the Aegis and are directed towards her lost partner. Most of the original sections depict Rex reflecting on his experiences, but as soon as Pyra and Mithra are brought back via the core crystal, the leitmotif slides in. I think all the instruments work seamlessly together, but the percussions in particular stand out in this section. And then the words, "Can I ask you, God, despite all of this, could the Sandglass somehow take back the time?" The manifestation of their desire all lead to those lyrics and words we can't hear, but can interpret what they mean. All happening alongside a soft yet fulfilling piano, playing Rex and Pyra and Mithra's motif, bringing them back to where they used to be. Howdy y'all, I hope you're all doing great and you enjoyed this video. This video is definitely a bit different, but with how much I love video game music and Xenoblade Chronicles soundtracks are killer, I knew this had to happen at some point. If you enjoyed the video and would like to click the like button or subscribe for more Xenoblade and other game content in the future, it would be very much appreciated. Also, feel free to leave your comments about maybe your favorite rendition of Where We Used to Be, how it's mixed into certain songs, or maybe just another motif like Counterattack with the final boss theme and all that kind of stuff. Aside from just wanting to talk about the series' music, I also wanted to do some content on Xenoblade 2 because it's been quite a while. I think the Morifa video or the Christmas special were the last times that I covered it, so it's been a bit. It's just been a lot of Xenoblade 1 mode because of the Definitive Edition coming out and all the hype going around that. Just one last thing before we end off here is that I have been streaming actually some games over on my Twitch channel. We just finished the Zelda Ocarina of Time randomizer, which there was a video that came out earlier this week. And at the time of recording this, we're actually in the middle of the Mega Marathon X, just going through a handful of the Mega Man X games. It's just a really fun time to just chill and hang out, so if you're interested in stopping by, seeing what we're doing and hanging out, then we'd love to have you. Anyways, that's gonna be it for me for now, so as usual guys, thank you so much for all the support. It's always great to hear that you're enjoying, what we're putting out here and just talking Xenoblade with y'all, and until next time.